Good morning. A little bit of background to the following important halacha. In the Shilos and Shuvas Rashba, the Rashba was one of the greatest Rishonim that was Meshiv halachas in a Mesudic way, and he was asked by somebody who he said in his shul, the person asked in our shul. So a guy gets up to dam for the Yamud, and he sings a lot, and he makes a big deal, and he feels like he's showing off and taking a lot of time, and it was irritating him that they sang in Shul, or this guy was singing in Shul. Probably more like old-time Chazzan, more than like a Shlomo Carlebach, I would imagine. But you never know. This we're talking about 1,000 years ago. I don't know what it was. And the Rashba said a very astounding tshuva. He says, in these things, this is exact lashon, but dvarim ka'ela, and these kind of things, hakol hoylech acher kavanas halev. Everything goes by what the intention of the person who's davening is. It was a chiddush. Meaning, it's not a good thing, it's not a bad thing. If the guy's up there to show off, then he shouldn't be doing that. If he's there to be ma'orer the tzibur, or, says the Rashba, he just has a beautiful voice, a beautiful presentation, and he's just using it to be mechabed Hashem. He says that's good. Now, who knows what the person's kavanah is, so that he doesn't talk about, but he just says that this is not a good or a bad thing. But he does say, if the kavanah is correct, then if it's ma'or the tzibur, he says it's a very beautiful way, says the Rashba, very, very beautiful way to inspire the tzibur in davening. Shulchan Aruch and Siman Nun Gimel brings this Rashba. He brings it la halacha, and he says a halacha, Shulchan Aruch, which he treads on this fine line. He says, Shaliach Tzibbur, shemarich b'tfilasai, kidei sheyishmu koiloi orev. Somebody's davening for the Yamud, and he goes on and on. He's marich because he wants to be heard, his beautiful voice. So says the Shulchan Aruch, Im hu machma shesamach b'liboy al shenoisein haydol Hashem yisbarach b'neima. If the point of this person is that he wants to use every koach that he has to be mechabed Hashem, to get people inspired for Yiddishkeit, Tavo Alav Bracha, says the Shulchan Aruch. Leave him alone. Just on that, Tavo Alav Bracha means we should all bench him. That's what it really means. And he's davening, appears to be davening as much as we can see with kavanah. But if it's just an ego thing, he just wants to hear his voice. He likes to hear his own voice. So if he likes to hear his own voice, so says the Shulchan Aruch, Meguneh. That's Meguneh. And the Shulchan Aruch adds over to Rashba, Meguneh, it's not just it's not a good thing, but we shouldn't let him do it. That's what Meguneh means. Like, Meguneh doesn't mean it's just a bad thing. Meguneh means we should protest. Yeah. Mikol Malkim, so Shulchan Aruch adds, Kol Shemarich b'tfilas. If you are going to go on long, lo tovos, it's not so good to go up there and take too long. Mipnei Shaliach Tzibbur, a new factor, and that's Tircha the Tzibura. Shaliach Tzibbur, that nobody has patience for it, and people have to go, and wives are waiting, etc. It's Shaliach Tzibbur. So to go on and on and on is anyways the wrong thing. But in terms of the fellow singing, so then it depends what his kavanah is. So you need a really intuitive gabbai or something. Like the gabbai has to be maybe the Chafetz Chaim or Rabbi Salanter to be able to know the kavanah of the person. My ani hakatan, I would say that we should be more machmir on the beinan l'chaver than on the critical part of him not having kavanah. But I want to share with you for 1 second the Mishnah Berurah. Now this Mishnah Berurah actually shook me up. Not because of what he says, but because he says it here. He writes, Isav Chazal say, known Chazal, B'shah Rabban Shimon ben Gamliel yotza ledin. Like we all know, the first two of the Asara Harugei Malchus was Rabbi Shimon ben Gamliel and Rabbi Yishmael Kohen Gadol. They were contemporaries, and it's not just sad, but interesting, because at that particular time in history, there was no reason that the Romans should be killing them. It wasn't yet the Shmad, that's the there was one Shemad after the Chorban Beis Hamikdash. That was the time of Rabbi Akiva. But even before, the official war didn't start. Chorban didn't start. Rabbi Yishmael Kohen Gadol and Rabbi Shimon Gamliel were taken to be killed. Yatsa Ladin Lehareg. So here's two tzaddikim, Gadolei Hadar, sitting together in the waiting room to be killed. Amar Reb Shimon Gamliel said to Rabbi Yishmael Kohen Gadol. So Reb Shimon ben Gamliel, Nasi Hadar, said to Rabbi Yishmael Kohen Gadol, who was the Kohen Gadol, two Gedolim talking, Achi, my brother, mipnei ma ani yotzei leoreg. What did I do already to deserve to be killed? So you could understand that question on a historical point of view, like why are they killing us? Like what's the reason they're killing us? But presumably he meant on a very deep spiritual level, what could I have possibly done? Here I am a tzaddik, and here he is moments before his Misa Meshuna. Amar Loi, so Rabbi Yishmael Kohen Gadol said to him, Shema hayisa darish barabim. Maybe one time you were giving a shiur, you were giving a drasha, v'samach libcha v'nanisa midivrei Torah, and you enjoyed hearing your voice, you enjoyed hearing yourself. You got a geschmack in yourself. And comes out, you were nana midivrei Torah. Amar Loi, so Rabbi Shimon Gamliel said to Rabbi Yishmael Kohen Gadol, Achi, my brother, nichamtani, you comforted me. The Chazal itself needs a lot of explanation from beginning to end, which is not for now. But what shook me up is that what's it have to do with this halacha? What does it have to do with the halacha? Mishnah Berurah is commenting on the halacha of a Shaliach Tzibbur that's too much into his voice and not into using his talents for avodas Hashem and to inspire the Tzibbur. So the answer is that if one has a gift, I mean, I presume what the Mishnah Berurah is saying, the mikum is just astounding here. If somebody has a gift, one should, as the Rashba says, absolutely. Kavod Shamayim that you, whatever talent you have, or if you have a speaking ability, singing ability, you have a lot of money, whatever it is, Hashem gave you that to use it for the tzibur, and everybody's got something. You have to use that for the tzibur. You can't keep it for yourself. On the other hand, if you're doing it for your own self and ego and that, so the Mishnah Berurah takes this to the furthest extreme, to what Rabbi Yishmael, it's the same thing, he says, as what Rabbi Yishmael Kohen Gadol said to Rabbi Shimon ben Gamliel moments before he died, and that was a nechama for him. Okay, now I understand, minimally what this means is, I understand why I'm being killed, because I did not serve Hashem correctly. So says the Mishnah Berurah, Ad Kan Tavor.